I'm going to go ahead my screen, but make it big. Okay, welcome everyone to the March meeting of the Philanthropy Club of Illinois. You've already been doing this, but if you haven't already, please go ahead and use the chat to introduce yourself, your organization. If you're hiring, if you have an event, we would love to know about that as well. Today, we are here to talk about recurring giving. What's it about and how can we harness the power of it for our own organizations? I'm one of your moderators, Kate Spellman. I'm the Director of Development at the Foundation for Hearing and Speech Resources. We're a small shop, there's 4 of us, so tiny, that works on creating and funding innovative programming for children with hearing loss. So we work with everybody from kids who are deaf with cochlear implants, deaf and not implanted, so using ASL, to kids who just have moderate hearing loss. I would like to introduce you now to my co-moderator, the incomparable Ndidi A. Akapu, who is the principal and CEO of N. Akapu Consulting. She is an accomplished leader specializing in community development and social enterprise, with a rich background in business, nonprofit management, fundraising, and community relations. She's committed to fostering sustainable models for growth towards thriving communities, and her work focuses on holistic community development, addressing the needs of the most underserved populations. Ndidi is going to tell us a little bit about the Philanthropy Club.
Well, thank you, Kate. I didn't expect any of this or all of that, so you're very kind. I was just helping out, but you're awesome. So about the PhiClub, and I'm one of the newest moderators. I'm very proud and honored to be with us. The Philanthropy Club of Illinois was founded over 20 years ago by Gus Willamley, the co-founder of the Safer Foundation. The club is 100% volunteer driven, and our singular goal is to level the playing field for all Illinois nonprofits when it comes to access to funding to support the mission of their organizations and the communities they serve. We fulfill our goal by providing no-cost monthly programming to support nonprofits with access to funders and by offering technical skill building for effective fundraising. The Philanthropy Club of Illinois is sponsored by Forefront. Go to www.myforefront.org to learn more about their services for Illinois-based nonprofits. Our Forefront staff partner is Susie Lee, who is currently behind the scenes, ensuring that we have a seamless time of learning this morning. So thank you so much, Susie. If someone forwarded you the invite to this session and you would like to receive PhiClub program notifications directly, please send Susie a note at slee@myforefront.org, and she will add you to the PhiClub email list. So here's a few fast facts about recurring givers. Donors who set up recurring donations give 42% more annually compared to one-time donations. Monthly donor retention is as high as 90% compared with an average of 46% across donor categories. Monthly donors are 6 times more likely to leave you in their will. 49% of boomers and 40% of millennials are enrolled in a monthly giving program.
Thank you, Ndidi. So with all those stats about recurring giving, it's no wonder it's something that a lot of us are interested in. Today, we're going to hear from 2 fabulous panelists, Amy Bolton and Molly Walsh. They're both going to present. Please feel free to put questions in the chat, but we're going to get through both those presentations, and then we'll have, I'm sure, a really lively discussion. You can put questions in the chat if you like. You can also take yourself off of mute when we get to the Q&A portion so we can hear and see from you. It's my pleasure to introduce these panelists. Again, PhiClub is an all-volunteer enterprise. The most fabulous part about it for me, is Justin's playlist. But the second most fabulous part is that I get to meet and talk with some fantastic peers and leaders in the nonprofit sector. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Amy Bolton of Esperanza Health Centers. Passionate about advancing healthcare equity, Amy serves as the development director at Esperanza. In this role, she leads fundraising and donor engagement efforts to expand access to high-quality, affordable healthcare for Chicago's underserved communities. With a strong passion for relationship building and strategic philanthropy, Amy oversees all aspects of individual and event fundraising, including Esperanza's annual gala and golf outing, recurring donor programs, peer-to-peer fundraising, corporate partnerships, and major donor cultivation. So welcome, Amy, and thank you so much for sharing your recurring giving journey with us today.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the introduction. I'm really glad that you stated a recurring giving journey, because I want to be very transparent that this is a work in progress for us and that we're still, kind of figuring things out. So I hope that I can give you a little bit to help you on your journey. And yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of questions you'll have. So I'd like to start with what kind of led us to launching a monthly giving program. So we launched our program in January of 2020. So I'm sure, as you can manage, we didn't get too far into our strategy before things were turned on their head with the pandemic. But before I get too far into that, I wanted to share what initially led us to decide that we wanted to start this program. So we had three main objectives. Our first was in 2017, we had our first capital campaign, and a lot of our donors were paying their pledges through monthly giving, quarterly giving, annual giving, and we wanted a place to transition these donors to continue giving to us, recurring. So that was one reason we were like, let's start a monthly giving program. The second is that we wanted an opportunity to solicit major gifts or larger donations in a way that might be a little easier for people to digest. We don't have a very expansive major gifts program yet, and so we thought this could be a really good way for us to break into that space. And then our final reason was we wanted to try to find a way to keep our board and associate board members engaged beyond their board terms. So we were seeing a trend in our donors that as they were terming off of the board, they were very active in fundraising and involved. And then as they transitioned off, this started to diminish. So we were hopeful that if they had a recurring donation monthly, they would just keep that going as they transitioned off and stay engaged, at least through that way, with Esperanza. So originally, our program was designed to include benefits that would increase as the donation was increased. But, going back to the fact that we launched in the pandemic, we weren't really able to fulfill most of these benefits since we weren't having our in-person events, we weren't meeting face-to-face. And so when we were able to offer these benefits again, we found that the benefits didn't seem to be a big motivating factor in people's giving, and it didn't really lead to an increased giving with a desire to get new benefits. So ultimately, we ended up removing these benefits. I included some of our original marketing on the side here. It's small, but just it lists levels with a variety of benefits. So we kept the levels, but we removed the benefits with that. And then I wanted to note that by the end of our fiscal year 20, which was the first year that we had this program, we had 11 monthly donors. And then by the end of the next fiscal year, we actually more than doubled this number to 25 donors, and they brought in just over $13,000, which was up $10,000 from our first year. So we had really incredible growth between our first and second year. If you could move to the next slide. So where are we now? Well, since our big jump between the first and second year, the increase hasn't been as dramatic. We've slowed down a little in our growth, but we've maintained some consistency in moving up. So currently we have 30 monthly donors, and at the end of this fiscal year, we're projected to raise $26,000 through this program. So like I mentioned, growth has been slow, but I also want to point out that this growth has been with very minimal effort to us. So we have a very small individual giving team. It's myself and usually another person. And we really wanted to relaunch the monthly giving program since the chaos of 2020. And we haven't fully had the opportunity to do that as we would have liked to. But we do have plans to promote this program further in this coming year. So what I want to point out is, as you can see in the little charts I put here, we have seen growth over the past 5 years, and this has primarily been through 3 avenues. So what we've done is we've included additional appeals at the end of our emails. So if we have an email campaign going out for an event or a notice of something we have happening at Esperanza, at the bottom, we would include a little note saying, have you considered monthly giving? We shared a few statistics of the importance of being able to plan with the giving that comes in monthly and just the benefits to that. So that was one way that we helped to continually promote this program. we directly ask our board and associate board members to join. Once they become a member, we ask them if they consider a recurring gift option. And then the last thing we did was add a recurring gift option to our main donation page. So we have a special page for our Amigos de Esperanza that goes into monthly giving. But on our general donate page, we added the recurring donation button, and we actually get a lot of our new gifts through this page. So, all things considered, I would say that we haven't had a lot of too much additional work for bringing in almost like an extra $20,000 a year. We do send an initial thank you letter to our donors outlining the timeline. I will say that we use Razor's Edge, and luckily now we're able to process these recurring gifts automatically. So that saves a lot of time and is very helpful. And then our donors do get an annual statement at the end of the year reviewing their giving. So what have we learned, and what are some of our plans for the future? So all in all, I'd say that monthly giving has been a benefit for us. We found that our donors who give monthly, they still buy tickets to events and participate in our one-off campaigns like Giving Tuesday, if they were doing that originally, right? So our board members, if they're donating monthly, they're still buying tickets to events, they're still giving for Giving Tuesday. And some of our other donors who weren't doing that anyway and were just giving a one-time gift, now they're consistently giving. And I did want to point out that actually the majority of our donors so far who are monthly givers, they give for multiple years. So of the 11, original participants we had in the program at the end of 2020, 7 of them are still giving monthly. So, they've been giving now for 5 years. And again, our numbers are small, so our data source isn't huge, but I think that it shows some good things. Again, I said our data source is small. We don't really have enough to say if this program really will keep our board members that are transitioned off the board engaged throughout the years, but we plan to continue to ask. So far, our success rate is a 50-50. We've had 2 people who have termed off the board. One has continued their monthly gift and the other stopped it. So we'll keep checking that out as we have more board members that step away. We also currently have a handful of staff that are actually monthly donors, and we haven't done a lot of promotion around this, but we've been able to set up a payroll deduction with our finance team. And if this is something that you guys have the capacity to do, I highly recommend it. The process was pretty simple for us. I just set up a batch in Razor's Edge, and I can commit it each month. So there's not a lot of work. And then for our staff, it comes out of their check automatically. They don't even have to think about it. So we're planning on, including this in some of our internal communications as, just presenting it as an option if people are interested. I have a colleague at Erie who's had a huge success with this program at their health center where a good portion of their staff donate monthly. So we're actually even talking about, including it in our new hire onboarding as, an option as people are getting onboarded, presenting if this is something you're interested in, we can set this up for you. So we're excited to see how that's going to impact our work. And then we do plan to promote this program once a year in an annual email campaign. I mentioned earlier that we used to include little blurbs at the end of all of our emails, requesting people consider joining our monthly giving program. So we stopped doing that a few years ago just to, keep it fresh. And we do include that at the end of some of our emails now, but we try to keep it at occasional instead of always. And so I think having one focused time of year where we do an email campaign on this will be helpful. And then the last thing I wanted to share was that, we don't currently have a strategic process for asking monthly donors to increase their gifts. We've done this sporadically once or twice, but we'd like to create some more strategy behind it and, ask people periodically, to increase their giving. So we haven't seen a lot of increased gifts, but that's also because we haven't been so intentional about that. So I'm not sure how the data would look on that side. But yeah, that's what I have to share with you guys today. Again, like I said, this is very much a work in progress for us, and we're really just kind of hoping to revamp it this year and see if we can, continue to have a little bit more growth. But that's all I have to share with you. So I'll turn it back over to Kate.
Thank you, Amy. I think your experience in a smaller shop is going to be applicable to a lot of us here. So I'm excited to get more questions for you when we have time for Q&A. For now, however, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Molly Walsh. Molly is the membership manager for Chicago Public Media, covering programs for both the Sun-Times and WBEZ. Her nonprofit background includes organizations in education, Girls Rock Chicago and 826 Shy, and in arts and culture, including the Academy of American Poets. She is proudly applying a BA in literature from Sarah Lawrence College to a successful career. Welcome, Molly, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I threw that in there because no one thinks a literature degree is good for anything, but it is. I live to tell the tale. Yeah, I stuck this useless slide in here just so I could give you my preamble. And I'm a very nervous presenter, so I'll just say that up front in case it helps me not feel nervous. Okay, so I currently manage member engagement and retention for WBEZ Chicago and Sun-Times on a team of 10 people. Many of those folks have some relationship to our monthly donors, and I mention that in part because as we get into the weeds a little bit, I wanted to acknowledge that a lot goes into managing a successful recurring giving program, whether at scale or not. Even if we want to feel like we can maybe set it and forget it in order to focus on donors that need more direct encouragement. Recurring giving can look like a lot of things. So when we enabled recurring giving at the Academy of American Poets, where I was for 9 years, I built that program from the ground up. So it's been really interesting to hear from Amy going through it herself. We did it at the Academy almost on a whim. So we went through a software transition and a checkbox appeared on our donation forms that had never been there before, and people started checking it. So gifts were coming through with annual pledge schedules, even though our database was actually not configured to offer that. So we contacted, I was Blackbaud at the time, and said, can you turn this on? So we started with annual recurring giving because much of that program was working annually. We had 9,000 members. They all paid annual dues. And we ran several direct mail and email campaigns that were fairly fixed on a schedule, which I think is kind of important about annual giving. So those were in January, April, September, and December, and the campaign themes were always the same. Like one of those campaigns was built around funding a manuscript prize, which meant that donors who believed in supporting that award in particular might be likely to do so each year. So we started by simply including that checkbox on every direct mail form, including renewal notices, language like keep my membership active, skip renewal reminders, building into our appeals a strategy around charging annual contributions as a jump start to the larger campaigns. So giving those recurring donors a sense of ownership over the success of the campaign because their gifts came in first, and because of them, we never started a thermometer at 0. So everything always looked like we'd hit the ground running and we were already a huge success. We added monthly giving on the website, so poets.org, and through a daily email program called Poem-A-Day, both of which lent well to monthly giving because they made a simple value proposition, which is basically, this is a resource that matters to you on a daily basis. Make an ongoing contribution to keep it free for everyone, including you. So at WBZ, it's a different picture. There are over 30,000 monthly donors. It's nearly half of the membership giving program, and it includes mid-level donors giving under $5,000 a year. While efforts to upgrade monthly donors are very important to our strategy, I actually wanted to share up front that I'm losing my voice. We've been without the technology to support upgrades for 9 months, which is a bit of a cautionary tale about tech and recurring giving, just to give us a jumping off point. Okay, Kate, that's the intro spiel. If you could just move me on. All right. So I heard that a lot of you were interested in starting from scratch. So I just wanted to throw all of my, thank you, Ndidi, all of my things to think about as you're getting going. The first one is really important. So if your credit cards are stored in the CRM, if they are processed by your CRM, and for instance, your CRM is Blackbaud, you will not be able to migrate the tokens of those gifts to another CRM. So if you are not happy with your CRM, and you might leave your CRM, you stand to lose about 60 to 70% of your recurring gifts. You will have to get them again when you move. And that's just something, that you want to be considerate of. So the best practice, I think actually Amy showed it on her visuals, is to have monthly giving be the default, or it could be annual, and that your gift ladder adjusts depending on the selection. So if it's monthly giving, maybe it's 10, 20, 50, 100. And if it's a one-time gift, maybe it starts at 100 and goes up from there. So that those are variable. Not all tools provide that. So looking for that is important. Confirmation email prominently acknowledges the giving frequency selected by the donor and includes instructions on how to change the gift. I mention this because people, well, two things. One, it's still in most states okay to have it be hard to cancel. However, and that is it's a built-in practice for a lot of nonprofits with monthly recurring giving programs. I know the ASPCA and the World Wildlife folks are using that type of hindrance, right, to keep people active. And you have to call, you have to email, you have to talk to a human being to cancel your gift. But the other reason I put this on here is that recurring donors have a high likelihood of forgetting that they clicked a box, especially if your default is monthly or annual. And then when it comes up to be charged again, they're like, I didn't sign up for that, but they did. They just didn't notice. So making sure that you've created a paper trail is important. Let your annual donors know that their gift is coming up for renewal. And again, you're going to get a lot of folks who are like, I didn't sign up for this. So just prepare for customer service really goes up with recurring giving. Consider your how, when, why of the 13th gift. So for monthly giving, the 13th gift is any additional gift you solicit during the year. Is it end of year? Do you ask folks to make an extra donation? The Academy of American Poets, of course, chose National Poetry Month to ask for a special donation in April on top of monthly donations. And maybe those are coming with a special donor premium, who knows? Will monthly gifts receive a monthly thank you email? So again, this may be limited by the software you choose. But one of the things that I wanted to think about with this is, when you set up recurring giving, you may stop talking to your donors as often as donors. And sending a note when the gift goes through each month might give you an opportunity to say thank you again. But don't forget to say thank you. We're in the business of saying thank you. I was given the advice to add micro surveys into those emails and to change them out, or to have, in case you missed it, here's news from the organization. So you can customize your monthly giving receipt each month so that there's a reward for bothering to open those. Okay, next one. All right, how are we recognizing monthly donors? Did you name the group? At WBEZ, we've called this group the High Fidelity Program. We are actually doing a lot with that right now, and a lot of my planning. I'm glad to see some members in the chat. We're planning more ways that High Fidelity members can be acknowledged as such and feel a sense of ownership for the title of that program. Does the monthly giving program have special benefits belonging only to it? WBZ used a annual anniversary journey for a long time that we're working to sunset. It's extremely expensive to maintain, and we ultimately could not demonstrate that it was impacting retention in a meaningful way. So we're likely to move more in the direction of Radiotopia. I don't know if any of you are members with them, but they have an opt-in, very inexpensive thank you gift each year that everyone is eligible regardless of the amount of their monthly gift, and maybe it's stickers, but you're excited to get it because it's exclusive to that program. Okay, so recurring gifts, are they charged automatically or manually in a batch? I asked this question because our program at WBEZ and my former program at the Academy were opposites, right? The recurring giving batches in Blackbaud, for instance, gives you you have to manually pull them, right? So you're pulling them on specific days of the month, but it does give you an opportunity to see, are there multiple gifts from the same person in here? Uh-oh, what's wrong? Am I about to charge someone multiple times? So that gives you like an extra moment to check your work. If you're operating at scale, that may not happen. And what's nice about that is that it's automatic and you're not manually processing all of these gifts, but you may have more gifts to refund and more customer service to manage. So just, whatever it might be right for you, it's going to be different depending on your program. And then one thing I just wanted, like, if we did all of our giving for annual at the Academy, we set that up with paper, like direct. We had a huge direct mail program, and so keeping records of those original check boxes. Again, you're gonna hear from donors a lot about like confused that they said they wanted this, so just keep those records and set up business rules to protect yourself there. So again, I won't say it. I won't read those next two bullets because I feel like I've hammered that one in pretty hard. And then prepare folks for an annual statement in January and prepare yourself. This was a huge lift at BEZ and at Sun Times this year. You're going to want to provide a single statement that shows all the giving for the year, including one-time gifts. So that 13th gift, if you got it, on top of the monthly gifts. And we tend to include warning that that's what we're going to do in all of our email receiving. So like, we're not going to send you a letter right now because you don't want to hear from us every month. But you will hear from us in January for your summary of giving for the year. The other thing I wanted to flag is that you make sure you understand why your monthly donors are giving to you. And that's partly because you may, unless you build it into your CRM and your strategy, you will lose the point of origin of their monthly gift. So which ask was it that landed for this person? What was the theme? Why are they here? Ultimately my thesis is, before you set it and forget it, make sure your donors don't feel forgotten. That really needs to be part of the plan from the beginning as you're getting up and running and recurring. Okay, I've gone on super long, but I do have 2 more slides. Stop loss. This is just to be aware. These are questions you may need to answer. I don't need to like necessarily read them all out loud, but once you're storing credit card information in your CRM and charging it regularly, new problems will show up for you. Rocket Money will reach out and cancel your donations. People who have a recurring monthly donation do sometimes think of it like Netflix. They don't think of it like their philanthropic relationship with the organization anymore. So while they may retain, they're retaining in a sort of unconsidered way. And so those relationships that you're working to cultivate really carefully when you're asking for a one-time gift, it's a different relationship with monthly donors. So it's just something to think about. Okay, I think we can move on from there. All right, so folks wanted to know about incentives. And also like how to convince people to do this. So these are the questions that I tried to answer. Why is recurring giving better for you? And why is it better for the organization? And you're going to tell the donor both of those things. If you become a recurring member, you're going to hear from us less often. We're going to stop asking, which is nice. And we might have some special benefits. We just launched NPR Plus at WBEZ, which is nice because it has an on-off switch. So if you've been enjoying that benefit and your monthly gift stops charging correctly, now you have a reason to get back up and running on your monthly gift so you can get your special benefit back. And then, making plain to donors that this is a steady funding stream for us and means that we're less tied to those specific peaks and troughs of campaign cycles. People understand, and I think they want your steadiness. So especially if, and I partly flagged POMA and post.org because those resources are daily. That is those, and BEZ it's on the air daily, it's on the web daily, it's part of people's lives in a very daily way. So it's a kind of natural ask to make an ongoing monthly contribution for something that you're engaging with so frequently. I think I just wanted to flag that their messaging to donors about joining a recurring giving program is going to be different if your program model is different. Okay. And then people just wanted to know about our most successful premiums. So there they are. Guess what? Tote bag. Mug, socks, pint glass, those are they. But I did want to take 2 seconds to talk about perceived value over like what is the value of this object. I've been leading a strategy to really improve our donor premiums by working with local artists on creating original works of art for our stuff so that what you're getting is truly custom, truly can't be gotten anywhere else, and is supporting Chicago in a number of ways. Our shirts are now printed in Chicago by a printer I've been working with for decades, and that all becomes part of the like inherent value of the thing rather than the like $1.50 you spent on the cup. So I just wanted to say that. And that's it. A lot, sorry.
Thank you so much, Molly. Okay, I'm going to take my screen share down so I can see more folks. It's only 9:36, so we have about 25 minutes to do some Q&A. I know that I have some questions that I'd love to hear more from. Oh, Indeedy, did we miss anything in the chat while folks were speaking, or should we just get
There
started?
was one question from Leonard and one that just came in from Bill Leonard. I think our wonderful leader, Jennifer Holmes, actually kind of tended to that one. But just for the record, the question was, for those of us who support WBEZ with a monthly gift, albeit small, through PayPal, is there a charge to WBEZ from that platform? So that was the question.
That is a very nitty-gritty question. I believe, because I don't actually handle our account anymore. I did in my old role, but I don't believe the PayPal Giving Fund takes a percentage. So I don't think so.
And that's what Jennifer, the head of PhiClub, that's what she answered as well. So it sounds like everyone's aligned. And then there's a new question, which is from Lewis Jones. Have you had any success with using social media to increase recurring giving?
The short answer is no. I mean, we just enabled Instagram donations. My problem with social media based giving is that it is completely anonymous. There is no way to follow up with donors. You don't, for the most part, if you guys are looking at your Facebook donations and all that, you're not receiving email addresses. So no, those are usually one-time donations. They're not necessarily coming through as monthly, and if they are, they're a super headache to enter in the system. So
Yeah. Kind of with that, my question for both of you is if you could both talk a little bit about prospecting for recurring donors, for lack of a better word. How do you identify people maybe who are already in your system, constituents you already know, who you might ask to become a recurring giver? Or how do you message it for new folks?
I feel like
Amy, I'm letting you talk.
I was like, I feel like your silence is passing it over to me. Um, well, if we're being completely honest, we haven't done a lot of direct asks for monthly giving at Esperanza outside of our board and associate board members, but we have started the process of prospecting. So I can't give you details on the success rate of this, but what we've done is we've gone through and we've pulled a list of people who give kind of sporadically, right? So they give this year, but not last year, and they give 3 times this one year, and then they didn't give the previous year. So people that are engaged, but maybe just kind of inconsistent. So that's one pool that we have that we are going to do a specific campaign to. And then this other campaign was going to be people who are already giving annually, pretty consistently. Like they might have missed one year, but overall they're giving consistently once a year, and asking them if they'd consider increasing their annual gift, making it consistent either monthly. So, right, if they give $100 a year, asking them, hey, would you be willing to do $25 a month? Because ultimately we'll get to a larger amount, and then, maybe they're going to still give that 13th gift at the end of the year. So that's kind of our strategy behind it right now.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, and I will say, like, we have a post-donation journey at WBEZ. So, you'll hear from us a few more times after you give. Some of those will just be thank you. Some of those might be pointing you towards benefits you might not be aware that you have. And then there will be a request for you to transition over to monthly.
Thanks. Any other questions from our audience? I see a hand.
Hi. My name's Ilana, and I've been with WFMT Classical Radio for a little less than a year now. So we have a very established sustainer program. Luckily, I walked into that, but I did help build one from the ground up at my previous job as well. My question is about sustainer challenges, because we're about to do our on-air spring membership drive. And I know that a few years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, they did a sustainer challenge, and it was really successful. Like 300 people signed up to be sustainer members, so monthly giving. And so we're going to run another one this spring, and that'll be my first time doing it on air. I think there's maybe some overlap with doing it through email and mail and doing it on air, but I'm wondering if you all can talk a little bit about what our best practices for running a sustainer challenge, and then maybe just like a couple points directly for on air.
Yeah, this is where I want the rest of my 10-person team, because we have an on-air person. That's his purview. But I would say that, yes, keeping those things aligned is good. So having the email and the on-air happening on the same day at the same time is great for building momentum. Updating people on progress toward goal. And I think unlocking benefits, what was I going to say? Having it progress as you go. So if we can get to 100 today, we're going to do this. If we can get to 100 tomorrow, so having it be a progressive. That's a strategy utilized more for the Sun Times, which is a nascent program. It's only 2 years old, and it is trying to grow as fast as possible. BEZ is obviously a much older program, and acquisition has been tough. So We haven't done a ton of what you're describing in recent memory, and I am still new. So I'm on like month 10. So yeah. I hope that was mildly helpful.
Yeah, keeping the emails and the on-air in conjunction is really helpful. And if there's, the problem with keeping it progressive is that we can't actually in real time count how many sustainers we have. So we're just saying for the day, like we need 300, and we're just going to keep hammering like 300, like, and we're getting there, we're getting closer. But a little industry secret, we don't actually have the ability to in real time count. We'll assess after the fact. And so it's really hard. I know that's like so inspiring to be like, we have 250, we just need 50 more, but that's like a big disadvantage that we don't have that countdown.
Yeah, for sure. We use Springboard as the donation page software. And it is very much built with on-air pledge drives in mind. So it has a drive summary dashboard that is like beautifully helpful for this type of thing. So when you're listening to WBZ and folks are on air saying, "Oh, Susan just gave," that's because it's live updating on a page that our pitchers can see, that our behind the scenes folks can see. So that sustainer count is something that we do have visibility into.
Any other questions? Indeed, anything from the chat? Or anything you can share?
No, I think there's a lot of, we've got a lot of supporters in here. We got Lewis with the WFMT mug represented. I think was it Ivana? What was your name? For WMF?
Oh, Ilana.
Ilana, sorry about that. I just would offer also definitely just if they have the previous campaigns recorded, just getting like taking a spell to listen to it. I as a listener, I feel like honestly I feel like the benefits is somewhere between you love this good music, you want to keep hearing it, support us, right? So for me, that's how I receive it. And then I know that there's like the different tiers are kind of what gets people, like sometimes they'll have a record or an album, and then I don't know if this was last year, but they tied it to like a calendar of different seasons and music tied to each one, and it was like this beautiful commissioned calendar, so everybody wanted it, right? So a fine dining type thing. I think the incentives really get it because people already support it and they know they're not going to be able to hear the music anywhere else. So they're like, I won't say anywhere else, but in terms of radio. And so that was my thought about that. I had a question, actually. I had a few thoughts. I do appreciate one of the points that was made about thanking donors because, first of all, it's standard practice. Donors are you're supposed to touch base with them at least 7 times within a year. That's recommended from Lilly School of Philanthropy, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, is to have at least 7 touch points in a year. One of the biggest reasons that donors don't re-gift or don't repeat a gift is because they feel unthanked, unappreciated, and like the organization doesn't care about them. So I think it was, I don't know if it was Amy. I think, I know that point was made earlier, and I thought that was a really great point. Always, always, always thank your donors. So that was a great reminder. And then I think Molly touched upon the CRM, and I think that part is really important in terms of fortifying. I think she underscored the importance of making sure that you have a good CRM and then making sure that you fortify it and populate it, because again, that is your way to continue to cultivate and steward rather the donors that you already have. So I thought that was helpful. My question is not to throw anybody for a loop. So because everything is like still new, But for Amy and or Molly, um, how do you anticipate the current economic fluctuations will impact recurring donations? And then and what innovative ways have you come up with to kind of circumvent or mitigate that?
Yeah, so it's definitely tough out there. I think it's tough out there for everybody, and that's no different for BEZ, both on one-time support and recurring. Um, the fact that recurring donors retain at a higher rate is really important for what we're going through in this economy. Acquiring them might be a little bit different, but keeping them, I think it is harder to acquire them. And our stats show that it is harder to acquire recurring donors than it was before the economy got to this state. But we're still retaining them pretty well. I think, I don't know, I don't have a solution that we are just working on it in every way we can. Like I said, we're really building in some new, lower cost premiums, but again, things that people might actually want, even though it may be more inexpensive to print. And we've really worked on building out a strategy for in-person experiences exclusive to our membership. So really being in greater connection with folks is at the forefront of our strategy around keeping this program strong. I do think though that, yeah, I don't have the stat in my head to support it, that this is being experienced on both sides of one time and recurring giving support. So I mean it's just happening across the board.
Amy, anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have a lot to add, but I will say that I agree with Molly in what I've seen. We haven't had any donors recently stop their recurring giving. And when we do, we typically ask, would you mind sharing your reason? Is there any way you'd consider continuing your gift, but at a lower amount? Or rather than canceling, would you pause it? So that's something we have set up to ask people. So I think we'll continue to do that. And then, yeah, that was kind of the only thing I had to add because I agree with everything Molly said. It's a lot of uncertainty of if there's a big impact in either side. So,
Yeah, thanks for that. I know at my organization, we're trying to think about how do we remind our donors and our supporters that their support is even more important now than ever. We're not an organization that takes any federal funding, but we work with students with just disabilities. So all of the news coming out from the Department of Education is bad. So I'm wondering, my wheels are kind of turning, like, is there a way to talk about your monthly donation is not just money that's going to help us to stay afloat and continue these education programs that we have, but it's also a show of support. It's one way that you can sort of, vote with your dollars to sustain special education. Any other questions from
That's
folks?
excellent, Kate. And actually, there is that I missed a little bit. Well, no, it was direct messaged. Someone was being very modest, but this is a great question. I'm just reading the other part. Do folks ever reach out to lapsed recurring donors and offer them to step down to a lower amount?
Mm.
So
Like Amy kind of touched on that you when people lapse, you have a chance to reach out and say, would you consider?
yeah. So we've only had to do that a couple of times, right? Because most of the time when people stop giving, it's because their card is expired and they stop responding to my emails. If I'm being completely honest, that is the majority of our stopped gifts. The people that actually email me to stop their gifts are a small handful. And, we have gotten one or two of them to agree to continue giving at a lower rate. And then a couple who said, like, I'm sorry, it's not a good time for me. And we do still have notes on those people's record to, at the end of the year, maybe ask if we see them give again, hey, maybe is this a better time? Would you consider joining this monthly giving program again? But again, our recurring donation, platform is so new. We haven't really gotten much into that yet.
Thanks. Molly, anything to add from a much larger database point of view?
It's funny. We have a built-in upgrade value on this feels like pulling out your dirty laundry. We do, like, we have a suggested upgrade value built into, it's a calculated field built onto our donor records based on past giving, what we think your next gift could be, but we don't have that value for lapsed folks. So with the existing technology, that would have to be very ad hoc, just because we just don't have that field. So I can't plug that in and say, Kate, you gave $20 a year last year. Could you do 18 this? We just don't have that as a calculated value. But now I kind of want to go build that. So maybe I will. Yeah, the challenge at scale is making the ask feel personalized but even though you're operating in mass.
Yeah, that's the benefit of a smaller program, right? Is you notice people individually and you can kind of track their behavior. Yeah. All right, folks. Oh, I see a hand. Rayanne?
Yes, hi PhiClub. Thank you for this very informative and helpful session today. I'm with the Night Ministry. We've been around, we're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary next year. We have about 300 monthly donors. We call them our Beacon Society. And we're about to do a migration from a kind of a legacy platform that probably no one's heard of called Talisma. And we're moving to Razor's Edge NXT. So we're so excited to be getting all the bells and whistles. And as part of the migration, they're offering us the ability to tokenize those 300 monthly donors and move them over for us so that we don't have to reach out and have it be, somewhat seamless. That's the word they're using. I hope it's accurate. Is there anyone on the panel that can kind of comment on any call outs of what this process might look like?
I cannot, because BZ, we're a huge staff, so I don't touch that. But I will say that we did do a CRM migration over the summer. It happened and we kept our giving program. So the tokens migrated. I'm here to tell you that it's possible. We live to tell the tale. Oh, indeed, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it's a small fee. And by small, I say a little over $5,000 to move them over. And we figured it was well worth it just based on that annual giving and how important it is through the months where things are leaner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So one of the nonprofits that my company worked with, they transitioned from eTapestry. I don't know who's familiar with eTap, to Razor's Edge NXT. And my advice is whatever tokens, whatever consultants, you can have to help migrate. That process was so much longer than we ever anticipated, that was ever anticipated. And I think that's the thing. It's kind of like I had these adult braces and everyone says, that the dentist always gives you a date, but it's always add like some more time to that. So that would be my recommendation, Rianne, is to just brace yourself for that. It may take longer, and absolutely utilize whatever consultants or tokens to make it easier. You don't want to lose any of it. And it can, especially moving into Razor's Edge NXT, because it's so comprehensive, it's not always an easy transition.
Great, thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one more quick question or comment.
I will just say that once you are using Razor's Edge NXT, because that's what we're using to process our monthly giving, I don't know how it works in the platform you have now, but it is, once you have it all set up correct, it took us a while to get it correct. And Razor's Edge has been transitioning to NXT for like a decade. So they're still bouncing between like database and NXT. So we started in the database and we had to kind of figure out how to get these into NXT. So if you just start it there, I would say just make sure that you know their policies on how to make these gifts charged automatically, because for a long time we didn't have it set up on the right date system. So we were having to have half of them processed manually, half of them automatic. We've finally gotten them all automatic. So just make sure they give you clarity on how you need to have those set up so they can all be automated if that's what you're looking for.
Excellent. And I know we have a consultant outside of what the Razor's Edge NXT Blackbaud folks offer that kind of key into some of those loopholes or issues that can crop up.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
Okay, perfect.
And then I think, Kate, the only because it was mentioned in the chat and I said I'd mention it about the social media piece. So I have a different take on the social media piece. We've done a lot of social media fundraising or crowdfunding. So there's like, everyone knows GoFundMe, but there's different versions of it. There's one platform that is really popular in my network. And my recommendation, though, is that you have to have an appointed person to do it, right? What I mean is like, have like, you have to have a graphics person to build out a campaign. Like, so you have to have a campaign name. You have to have a graphics person to build out a campaign. But if you post the social media, if you use advertisement on the social media to bring it back to the campaign page, you can, or if you use Zephy or whatever platform you use, I think you can have a strong, I don't know, we've had a lot of success. I'll say it like that. So the point is to not get your development person to do all of that. Get your marketing person and your graphics person.
Thanks, Aditi. All right. I think we've lost quite a few people to 10 o'clock meetings already. But I just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you especially to Molly, to Amy, and to Ndidi for helping us put this together. My way of putting together sessions for the PhiClub is I pick a topic that I'm working on or I have questions about, and then I get to network and find people who have really brilliant answers. So thank you to the three of you for joining. PhiClub is entirely volunteer run. If you're ever interested in hearing about what it's like to be a moderator, how much fun we're having, please drop me an email. I put my email in the chat. And as always, I want to say thank you to Forefront for hosting us, especially to Susie, who is our tech genius, to Justin, who is our DJ as well. Thank you all for joining. I know that we will have another PhiClub session in April, although I'm not sure what the topic is. So please make sure to sign up for our email list so that you hear about it, and look out for our LinkedIn messages as well. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for being a part of our Tuesday morning, and I hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Nice job, Kate.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, Amy. And Diddy, nice to see you too.
Glad to not be sick.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's just been
3 weeks. It was bad.
Yeah. Do you know what it was? Was it flu?
I still don't know what it was. I still don't know. And I still have like a little touch of vertigo left over. Still don't know what it was. But the thing is, I would think it's a flu, but I didn't have body aches and I didn't have a fever. So otherwise it was giving flu, and it was 3 weeks. So with a little vertigo left over. So I have no idea. But great job, Kate. This was a really great topic.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Ndidi. I'm so thankful that you stepped up to help moderate and to share some of your thoughts. I think your experience, like you've worked across so many different organizations, you've seen so many things. That was really, really helpful.
I'm glad to help. I think you put together a great panel. I saw your email, and after I got better, I was like just checking to make sure that you were good.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that
was-
nobody else took it. So I was like, I'll help, no
I
problem.
was
But
too. It's like I try to
I-
make it seem, all you need to do is come on and read the slide, but people's lives
but
are
it,
busy.
but it worked
So
out. I think it
the
worked
person
out great. I
stepped
think
up at the
people
right
got a lot
time.
of good information. These are great topics. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Susie. Nice to meet you, and good to see you, Leonard.
Miss Susie. Take care.
Bye.